What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me on these analysis. We're going to be looking at MSTR today and Bitcoin. It's our standard, daily update on MSTR. Nothing too different than what we normally do here. As you can see, we've been touching the bottom of this trend line, looking very good. And we're looking at this move here for this move here, potentially. It's starting to look very similar. Maybe this retracement will be a little more shallow. We will find out with time. This one pulled back to the 618. This one's currently at the 382. As you can see, the 382 is more bullish than if we were to pull back to the 0.5 of 618. The higher up the sequence, the more bullish it is. So that would show extreme bullishness. If this is our bounce here and we continue to push up higher, that'd be perfect. So right now we're looking very good. We still have 2 days and 20 hours in terms of the weekly candle closes. So we still have time before we see where things go. When you look here, you can see on the fib to the downside, you can draw it out here. And you can see we're still fighting with this. We were talking about this back here. We're talking about this golden zone when we were over here. And it looks like these golden zones are just as important as we think. And we've had a lot of trouble breaking through it. As you can see on the weekly, we're on the weekly. So we pushed up and it's taken, 5-6 weeks. And we're still just trying to break back through. But on the bright side, the more you touch something, the more likely you are to break it. So this is looking very good at the moment. We want to get this weekly close ideally above 430. And I think from there, things can get crazy because we can retest this golden zone and continue up pushing up higher. But this is going to be the key level of resistance for the time being. Hopefully the STRK, STRF, and STRD can allow Microstrategy to ease off of MSTR with the ATM, and we can hit the preferred stock instead of hitting the common shares, which is MSTR. And if we can do that, that can allow the MNAV to run back up. The MNAV is currently sitting at 1.93 according to Strategy's website. So it was sitting at 185 actually yesterday night. So the fact that it's already running up to 193 is a very good sign. We're looking very bullish at the moment. We'll see where things take us though. When we look closer here on the daily, it's a very good sign. We got a nice wick. We gapped up, pushed down, pushed back up, and now we close slightly underneath this golden zone. We want to close back within it and eventually break through, touching this gap that we have here. We want to clean up this gap and continue pushing up higher. And like I said, on the weekly, we want that 430 close. That would be ideal. The ultimate best case scenario is a weekly close or a daily close above the 450 region. That's what we really, really want. And I think things can definitely get crazy from that point on. But this honestly just looks like a really healthy pullback. It's very frustrating when you're in it every single day and you see the low volume and price really not moving anywhere and Bitcoin running up. But we were talking about MSTR actually front running Bitcoin's move, and it looks like that's exactly what ended up happening. So we'll overlay that here. As you can see, we have Bitcoin in the red and we have MSTR in the blue. And it looks like that's exactly what happened. MSTR just front ran the move, and that's all it was. Not by much, but just by, a week or two or something like that. And as this started going sideways, Bitcoin started going up, but then MSTR front ran the drop as well, and then Bitcoin dropped on top of that. And now MSTR looks like it's going up as Bitcoin's going up, and now it has a minor pullback, but MSTR continuously is going up. Looking very strong right now, what we're kind of used to seeing. So hopefully this can continue for a nice extended move to the upside on Bitcoin, and then MSTR can do its thing, Another thing I noticed too is actually looking back here, we're talking about this move. We keep comparing to this move, right? So we keep looking at this move here, and we actually can take a look here and look at October 2nd, right? You take this to the top here on MSTR, and to January 2nd, October 2nd to January 2nd, you ran up 140% for easy numbers. So October 2nd to January 2nd, 140. October 2nd to January 2nd, we ran up 70 for easy numbers. So 120 divided by 70. And that gives you a 171 MNAV. So that should actually give you a little bit of hope when you think about it, because we're going to drop this down. So in this move here, you can see the MNAV was only 171, and look at the move that we ended up getting, right? Here, the MNAV was sitting around a 2 because we gained about 82% on Bitcoin's 40% move or 41% move, roughly. So it was a 2x multiple. This was a 1.7 multiple, and look what ended up coming out. So we might not be in a bad spot, honestly, because we kind of saw this before, and we're actually ahead of this move in terms of like MNAV, and we didn't get as steep of a drop, at least yet. So let's see where this takes us. Maybe we end up hitting a target that we have continuously spoken about, which is this flagpole. For anybody that's new on the channel, that flagpole, and I'll draw this one over here because we do have an influx of new people, and I appreciate all the new supporters and subscribers. So as you can see, this flagpole for this bull flag, when you measure it out, you get something that essentially calls this move. And then when you get this flagpole and you measure this one out, you can see that if we take it from here to there, we land somewhere in this region up here at the top of this channel, which coincides with our Fibonacci that we'll pull right now. If you've been a part of this channel, you've already seen this before. So when you pull from here to here and stretch it over, you can see that we land at the 2272 to the 2618. Pretty much calls your target for this one here. And then when you measure it from this top to this bottom here, you can actually see that the 2272, 2618 lands exactly where that flagpole is landing. So you have two things pointing to that target. And then just basically looking at the top of the channel, you can see that you have one touch, two touch, and then potentially a third touch. So just using your basic observations, you can see that you have a flagpole calling this, and you have the Fibonacci 2272 to the 2618 calling. So you have three things in confluence pointing to the same direction. That does not mean that it's going to happen, but you want confluence to build some confidence and conviction behind your thoughts. So something to take note of. Here on the daily SMAs, we are pushing towards that 20. We haven't broken it yet, but we are running into it. That's going to be some resistance because you have the golden zone that we've already spoken about to the downside and this 20 SMA. So it's going to be confluence to the downside. And on the 4 hour, we actually have broken above our 20 and got a close. And now we're bouncing off of the 20 and pushing towards the 50. So let's see if we can break that 50 tomorrow on the 4 hour and get a nice move to the upside. Hopefully we can make it all the way to the top, like I said, up to that 430 region to get that weekly close. That's going to be the most bullish scenario that we could possibly get. And when you take a look at global liquidity here on the weekly, I have it on the 12, just because we look on higher time frames overall. We just like seeing the larger picture. You can see that we're going much higher in terms of global liquidity if we continue to follow it. Remember, you don't follow global liquidity 100%. It's not 100% correlation. It's like an 80% to 90% correlation, which is good enough. If you can be correct 80 to 90% of the time, you're going to make a lot of money in this market. So this, if we continue to follow, shows that we should have much higher prices to go. And somebody brought up overlaying gold, which is a good idea, but I don't have the offset set up. I need to put it in this thing called the Pine Editor down here, and I have to put in a code to do that. So I'll figure out how to do that so I can add that to the chart. I've never done it before, so I'll try and do it though, just so we can have a better picture. But just taking a look here, as you can see, MSTR and gold's relationship, they kind of run side by side, and you can see that gold sometimes will front run MSTR and sometimes MSTR or front run gold. So right here you can see MSTR front ran gold. Then on this one they kind of ran together, and then MSTR continued going as it went sideways. And now it looks like gold is front running MSTR potentially. Here on Bitcoin, our next level of resistance potentially is going to be sitting right here on this trend line that we've had connected from the April 2021 highs, as you can see. So we should be running into some resistance here at anywhere from 115 to 118, depending on where we hit this line at. But overall, the structure is increasingly bullish. It's every single day, it's just getting more and more bullish. Today's close was kind of just kind of sideways chop. It wasn't bullish or bearish at all. We rejected to the upside, we rejected to the downside as well. So nothing's really happening. But overall, the actual structure of this is very, very bullish. Especially when you pull it out on the fib, you can see we're only sitting at the 236, which is extremely bullish. And if you pull it down further, we're also at the 236. So just a more perfect bounce, which is a very bullish continuation to the upside. Looking very promising. Here on the weekly, you can see we closed right here, got our 2 bounces. And it looks like we're potentially just testing this level again before we actually decide to move on up. We're kind of just creeping up slowly and surely, and eventually we're going to have an aggressive move to the upside, I would imagine. It's going to happen when nobody's really anticipating it. That's usually how it goes with Bitcoin. Also, another thing that I like to talk about, which I've spoken of prior, is how we tend to get some of our largest rallies in the pauses. So when you look back, you can see the most significant rallies we've had sometimes have been during these pauses. You can see during this pause, you have a significant rally. And also remember that the market is also forward looking as well. So they potentially could have been anticipating this prior. And same thing here. Once you get interest rates slammed to the ground and kind of just trending sideways, you got one of the biggest rallies in 2021. And here was during a rate hiking cycle, but it was a steady raise. When you get the steady raise, it doesn't spook the market as much as when you get something like this. This was very drastic. These were insane increases, as you can see. This was a stair step up, so that allowed price to continue rallying. When you get an aggressive spike, you can see that the aggressive spike up, and you can see price rejected instantly. So if we didn't get this aggressive hike, who knows what could have happened? Granted, it's forward looking, but maybe it would have topped out anyways because it's November of the final year for the bull run in Bitcoin cycle. But it's just something to take into consideration. The interest rates are always something that you want to keep an eye out on. And it looks like we're going to continue being paused. So maybe we get that significant rally to the upside, and let's see where we land. And when you pull a fib here for this bull flag, you can see we run up, surpass the 2618, and then we actually bounce off the 2618 and the 2272. When you look at this bull flag here and you pull it to the bottom of this flag, you can see we ran up to the 1618. Let's see if we actually continue to push past this 2618, eventually break through it and come to retest that. And if we measure out this bull flag to this top here, you can see the 1618 takes us to about that 145 level. So let's see if we hit the 1618 like we did on this leg. And let's see if we can actually hit the 2272 or the 2618, how we did on this leg here, which kind of lands in the same area that we were talking about, that 155 to 140 region. So for easy numbers, 145. And as we've spoken of prior, you can see these red dots with this channel here. We've touched the tops here in 2017, 2021, potentially 2025. The bottoms and the bears in the bear market, we've landed it here in 2018, 2022, and potentially 2026. So let's see where price takes us. In a perfect world, it would look like this and then something like that, and then restarting the entire cycle. But more than likely, it won't play out as simple as that. It'll be something that nobody's anticipating. On MSTR divided by Bitcoin, we're looking very good. We're finally seeing some signs of life here on MSTR. Finally outperforming Bitcoin a little bit. We were at the bottom of this channel. Looks like we got a bounce. Let's see if we make it to the top of the channel and finally get a durable break. Ideally, what we want to see is a move here, break through, retest, and push up higher. So we've been riding up this upward sloping channel, touched the top, pulled back, touched the bottoms, bounced off of it. So let's see if we get that move to the upside again. Ideally, what we want to see is a breakthrough, retest, and push up higher. But we have to keep in mind that we could also continue this pattern and actually push up and end up getting rejected back to the bottom. Hopefully that does not play out, but that is always a possibility. But this is looking more bullish as time is going on. We definitely want to see a significant move like we've seen here and like we've seen here. We want to see two aggressive moves like we saw in the past. Like this one here and like this one here. So that's what we're looking forward to. Hopefully we can see something like that over here. From the bottom to the top, it was a 157% move, and then we'll call it from here up was about 165%. So if we go from the bottom here, hopefully if we get 150, that would put us at 70. 165 puts us at 75. That would be the ideal target to hit. We'll see if we can actually land there or not. Could be challenging. Depends on, share dilution and all that kind of stuff. As you know, if you're, into MicroStrategy like that. So we'll see. And that's what we talked about earlier with the Strife and Strike. See if those can kind of help with the dilution of the common shares and see if they can take some of the ATM, which should relieve MSTR and allow the MNAV to push up a little bit. Like I said, it already pushed up from 185 to 193 within one trading day. So if we can get a significant run up to 2.5, 2.25 while BTC's in a severe run to the upside, you get that for like a 2-3 week span, and this thing can really take off to $800,000, $1,200 before we potentially get that next reset. Like we said, if we get a right translated cycle, we could see something where we make it to the top of this channel, and then we come back to this bottom of the channel to kind of redo this same move, another bull flag essentially, and then the full move to the top of this channel here. Now, if we get a left translated cycle, then that means we get a very, very aggressive run up here on Bitcoin, and we get a blow off top on Bitcoin earlier than anticipated. Then this thing can go much higher than we're anticipating. And then we get a major wick here, and then we're done for the cycle. That would be the blow off top left translated cycle. And that's going to depend on economic conditions. If the unemployment rate comes back and it's way higher than anticipated, and we're getting those recession fears and that kind of stuff. If inflation starts ramping back up, then people are going to start talking about tariffs again and all this kind of stuff. But right now, if we continue where we're at, it's more than likely that we end up getting a right translated cycle for now. But things can change very quickly. In economic data, it's steady, steady, steady until it's not. It's kind of like Bitcoin. Bitcoin's just kind of trending sideways, easing into it until it's not. You can even see that here on MSTR. You can see you're getting that move upward. You can see it's steep, but then that final 2-3 weeks, that's completely vertical right there. And it's the same thing here. It happened again. We kind of had this sideways move here until it was very, very steep. Kind of trended sideways, upward, but not too aggressive. We got a drop, and then this next 3 weeks period was straight up. And that's kind of what happens with economic data, especially when it comes to like the unemployment rate. It'll just trend sideways or slightly downward or slightly upward, and then an aggressive move to the upside. So ideally, we would want to see something like that too here on MSTR. Maybe we climb up like this, and then we get that 3 week period of just absolute vertical. But that's all I have for you guys here. Like and subscribe, comment, and I'll see you guys in the next one.